good afternoon, attendees. Thank you all for joining us today in this webinar. And with me, I have Miss Ritu Gupta, who most of you might know her. She's lead business analyst with us. I also have Mr. Sahil Patel, who is Vice President Customer Success with Smarten team. And all three of us welcome you to this webinar of new version release, which is Smarten version 5.3. And in this webinar, we will be covering the new features and the major feature releases which we have covered in this webinar. So I'll just give a quick instructions to all the new joinees, those who have joined today for the first time in our webinar series. So you can use Q&A section, which you will find in the below panel of Zoom. And in case if you have any questions, you can type your questions in the Q&A section of the Zoom panel, and we will take up all the questions after the webinar is over. And yeah, so we will just begin with the webinar. So once again, good afternoon and welcome all. So as you all know, most of you are already using Smarten. So you all know that Smarten is a traditional and modern BI in one platform. So it offers you the reports and dashboards. It also gives you the cross tabs. As you may know that we are also offering pixel perfect print reports. So in case if you have any reporting requirement which persists to any pixel perfect reports you may need, like your invoice or maybe a ledger report or a particular format of balance sheet which you may need, all those reports can also be done using Smarten. Then we have geomaps, self-serve data preparation, key influencer analytics, assisted predictive modeling, which allows users to create, share, and use predictive use cases without writing any statistical algorithm. We have also released sentiment analysis. In our upcoming version, we are also going to release anomaly alerts, and we will keep you posted regarding the same. So in anomaly alerts, system would automatically identify the anomaly within the data, and it will notify the users. As you might have attended our webinar related to clickless analytics, in that users get a Google search kind of an environment, and they can simply type in the query and they will get answers to that query in the form of a table or chart or maybe name of the person. And it understands all your questions related to ranking, related to geography, places, people, and a lot of other things. So basically, Smarten is a traditional as well as modern BI in one platform, as most of you might be using a majority of the feature functionality of Smarten. So today in the version Smarten 5.3, what we are going to cover, I'll just quickly elaborate the points. So in Smarten version 5.3, in today's webinar, we are going to, we have already covered a webinar for a native mobile application. Most of you might have attended that webinar, and the video of the same is also available on smarten.com, which is our website. So this native mobile application is an add-on product to your Smarten BI, and this will allow you to see your dashboards, your reports, your pixel perfect print reports. It will also give you access to clickless analytics on mobile app. It also has certain sharing options which will allow you to share certain reports to the users through mobile, through WhatsApp or Gmail or other sharing apps which you may have on your mobile. So this gives you a very good experience because it is a native mobile app and it's an add-on product. So the webinar for the same is available on, the video of the webinar is available on smarten.com. SmartenInsight, which is sentiment analysis. So this is like if you are capturing text related data, maybe through employee feedback form or customer feedback form or any text related data which is coming from your social media handles. that can also be analyzed, and users would get the results in the form of whether it is a positive sentiment or negative sentiment or neutral sentiment. A specific webinar we had done for sentiment analysis in past, and the video of that webinar is also available on smarten.com. So the first 2 points we have covered in the earlier webinar, which is available in this new version of Smarten version 5.3. So in today's webinar, we would be covering data sets, column lineage, new connectors which are available for Google Sheet and SnowFlake, and in a within dataset, I mean how allow to use global variables in queries for dataset. Then an option to partition data in dataset or BI object. There is also a public access license available, which is an add-on license which you can buy in case if you want to publish a particular report to your website or maybe portal, which can be accessed by any anonymous user or any public user. So that a particular license and how you can enable that from Smarten, we'll be showcasing that. Then option to split data set, how you can do that. Option to skip cube or data permission verification while loading the BI objects, that we will be covering. And under classification predictive use case, we have covered methods of balancing the data, right? So oversampling and undersampling methods of how to balance your data such that it doesn't give biased result. That particular option is available, and that we will be covering in this particular webinar. So yeah, these are certain points which we are going to cover today. And as you all, some of you might know, and if you don't know, then we have released a specific free citizen data scientist course. The details of the same are available on our website, smarten.com. So as you might know that citizen data scientists are the users who are from non-data science background. They may be business users within the organization who know their job function well, and with the help of tool like Smarten, they can create, share, and use predictive use cases without writing any statistical algorithm. So in this free data scientist course, you will learn the concepts of citizen data scientist. You will get to learn how to prepare your data and how to also create predictive use cases. So this will help you in learn more about our assisted predictive modeling which we are giving in Smarten. So you can learn more about that module. So we will invite all the attendees to subscribe for this free course which is available on smarten.com/free online citizen data science course. I have given the link in the below panel, so you can check that. And as you know, that Smarten is noted under various Gartner reports as a representative vendor, as a niche BI and analytics vendor. And some of you are already using it for enterprise reporting as an enterprise reporting platform. Many of you have also done API integration, and you are also using it as a tool for embedded analytics. So yeah, Gartner has noted Smarten under various reports, and we are very proud of that. Here are certain customers ranging from the stockbroking industries to the financial services to the banking and pharmaceutical companies and consumer good companies. So as you know, Smarten is a horizontal tool, and it can be fit and it can be used by different customers and belonging to different industries. So yeah, I mean, this was a very quick introduction of what we are going to do today, and I had given a quick recap of the existing modules of Smarten. So I'll just hand over this to my colleague Ritu, and she will give us a quick demo of Smarten version 5.3.
Okay, thank you, Arbuda, and good afternoon, everyone. So, yeah, today we'll be covering the major features that are introduced in this new release of Smarten, that is in version 5.3. And as Arbuda mentioned earlier, that for mobile app and for sentiment analysis, we have a very detailed explanation covered in the earlier webinars, which are available on the website. For those who are interested, I request you all to visit the website. Okay, so we will start today with the datasets column lineage. Now, to give you a quick understanding onto why would we need it. So earlier we had a feature for dataset lineage. So as in what happened after we extracted data in dataset. Okay, so I'll quickly switch to Smarten now. Okay, I hope my screen is visible to everybody.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay. So earlier we had an option to view the lineage of the entire dataset operations. So what happened after I extracted the data from the source? Okay, what all operations I have performed. Okay, then what all cleanup I did. Again, if I did any transformation after the cleanup, if I did any join or append operation, and then the final result set. So after all the operations, what is my final result set? This was my data set lineage. But now, what if for a particular column, I want to know what and how this column is generated, which source this column is coming from, how it is computed in case of a derived column or of a custom column that we create. And sometimes, because we have an option to join multiple data sets, and the columns might be coming from various other data sets, like here you can see that from the color bifurcation we know this column is from this particular data set named DT employee designation, whereas all the other are from the current data set. So then what was the earlier operations performed upon this particular column? So if we want to know that sort of detail, now we have introduced the feature for column lineage, and it's very simple to check. You just right click on your column name, okay, and you do a lineage. Okay, here it gives you the pictorial representation, and you can also see the color bifurcation. So let's say I am looking at this employee designation column right now. It is coming from this data set. Okay, in this data set the name of the column was designation. Now we are joining it with this data set, and in this data set finally this is the column name and this is the kind of values that it has. Okay, so preview of the kind of values that it has. Okay, suppose there is a column which is derived from various from two or more columns. Okay, so in that case, so let's say I have a column sales amount, which is actually being derived from two columns, which is like sales price into sales quantity. You can even see the formula applied over here. And then you are seeing that these two columns are coming from which data set. Okay. There is another example. So let's say we generate a column which is actually from many other data sets, two different data sets. Okay, so in that case what happens? So now this particular column, okay, this is coming from two different data sets. Here we have an option to zoom in. So this is a higher level view. Okay, we have an option to zoom in. When you zoom in, it gives you the detail of each and every column. So one column, that is employee name, is coming from this data set. The other column, designation, is coming from this data set. Okay, after joining we are getting it over here, and finally I'm applying a merge column operation on top of it, and this is how my column is being generated. Okay, so this is the new feature. Okay, and it is very beneficial, especially in the case wherein we see something on a report and we are not able to understand how it is computed. So in that case, this will be very helpful and very easy to use. We'll be quickly jumping on to the other feature. Okay, at the end of all the demonstration, we'll be having a Q&A session. So if you have any questions, we can discuss then. So I'll be quickly demonstrating all the features that we have in hand for now. Okay, then we have two new connectors in place, that is Google Sheet connector and SnowFlake connectors. So if you go and create new data source in Smarten, a Google Sheet connector works like any other file source connector. Okay, so you give a name. Okay, You give your, here you will need your Google service account, and also you will need to upload your uh, key, the key authorized AAuth key for your service account that will be generated from the Google account itself. Once you apply that, you will get a pop-up of all the file that has been shared with this particular account, and you can select the file here. I hope this pop-up is visible.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay. You can select from the list of all the files that are shared with your account. You can select the file that you need, and after you do a next, after this everything is similar to what we have seen in the CSV file source or an Excel file source. Here it allows you to cross check your data types. It auto detects, but it allows you to change in case it is wrongly detected, and then you do a save, and then you just click on OK and you are good to go. That is about a Google Sheet connector. And the other one is a SnowFlake connector. So like any other database, we allow you to connect to SnowFlake. Here you are supposed to enter all your connection parameters, your host, port, database name, and if there are any other connection parameters, you need to pass it. And once you do a test connection, uh, if the connection is valid, then you can create a data set out of it. You can paste a query that is ready, or you can use a step-by-step wizard like we use it for all the other types of databases. Okay, then moving on to the other point is we have a new and interesting feature wherein we allow global variables to be passed as query parameters. Okay, so initially I mean, everybody who has used global variables, they know that we use global variables to provide users to give interactivity, right? So here users can use global variable in association with what if filters to change the query, to change the parameters of the report and apply filters on the fly. Okay. But now let's say in case of huge volume of data, we have a requirement to filter out the data from the source itself. I mean, if I am looking at the data for one particular year, then what is the need for me to pull the data of entire 10 years that is there in my database, right? So in that case, especially in case of, so this, I would say this feature is especially beneficial in case of real-time data sets, wherein we are pulling the data for a particular set of records for the particular requirement of a report. Okay, so I have prepared a example for you. So let's say we have used two global variables here. One is integer, wherein I'm going to store year values. Okay, and the other is a string variable, which I'm going to use as a product category value. Okay, I have a data set which is real-time data set, and in that data set I have passed a query which has where condition, and in that where condition I am actually passing the global variable values. So the global variable values can be passed with a prefix and suffix of a dollar sign, and in case of an integer you can pass it directly. In case of string, you can pass it encoded in single quotes or double quotes, however your database understands a string. So it's like while passing this query, Smarten will update the values of this dollar sign variable with the value that we are passing, and the entire query after updating the values will be passed on to the database for computing. So that's how it works. You do a preview, you get the output. So this is it. So here then we are allowing users to then use global variables to be passed as parameters in your query. So let's say if I now change this to 2003, and let's say I want data for bikes, right? So this is my real-time report. Okay. So that's about passing global variables in your queries. Now option to partition. Yeah, so now we have a new option to partition your, now why is this required? I'll firstly remind you about the storage mechanism of Smarten. So when we say we are pulling the data into cache, the entire data is being fetched from the source, and we store it in Parquet files in the backend in the backend in an encrypted format. So those files are huge. I mean, based on the data that we have, the files will have the entire published data that we are going to use for the reporting. But so so let's say what happens when I have huge amount of data, and my reports and my requirements are going to be such that at a given point of time I'm going to look at a particular chunk out of it. Okay, so let's say I have a requirement to divide my data set into given a particular year for a time frame, or a particular category of data, you know. So in that case, while defining the data set, okay, after you are done with pulling the data and coming to this data result set screen, you can go to the properties. Okay, here in this section, apart from your basic configuration, you get option to select the columns on which you want to partition your data set. Here it can be single column or multiple column. I would like to add one point. It is not just rendering of the report that will improve. It will also be writing of the data that can improve in case of parallel writing, because partitioning will allow you parallelism in case of writing also and reading also, especially in case wherein my two users are opening the same report for two separate data values. Let's say if I create a partition based on product category, and one user is opening data for one category and other user is opening data for other category. So simply Smarten knows that I need to jump to this particular file for this user's report and this other particular file for this user's report. So that will allow the parallel processing to happen even while writing the data. So if the query is allowing multiple threads to be written together, the Smarten will be able to write those two files together, two or more files together, depending on your IO configuration. Okay, so you just select your partition columns. There can be multiple columns as well, and then you do an apply. Unfortunately, there is no means for me to show you how the backend files is created, but I can tell you in this case, for each and every product category and state combination, it is going to create a separate file in the backend and store it accordingly. Okay, it's the same way how database partitioning works. Okay, then we have a new feature for anonymous public access reports. So as Arbuda had mentioned earlier, firstly, it is a license bound thing. So let's say if you have a requirement of publishing a few reports on your public platforms, like on your public website or on your portal, if you want to embed a few reports that are being generated from Smarten, but it doesn't need a user registration or any sort of security measure for anybody to view at that report. Okay, so in that case, what you can do is you just need to buy a license. Okay, and then in the security and permissions, we have this option for anonymous public access configuration, wherein you simply select the report that you want to publish publicly, and you just add it. Right now I don't have a license, so I won't be able to add, but if you'll add it, you will see the list of reports that are allowed for public access. Basically those reports can be straight away embedded into your portal or your website without any security ask. And for such reports and for other kind of reports, there is another new feature. So that was the feature for skip verification and permission check. Okay, so now that is again something which is administration specific. This was also administrator specific. Let's say I have a report which I want to, which I'm sure that whoever logs into Smarten, this report, this map, or this dashboard is supposed to be accessible by all the users. There is no reason for me to keep a check on it, whether it's a data access permission check or it's a role level check or whatever. This report is going to be used across all the users, all the roles. Okay, so in that case, I have an option to skip cube and dataset permission check. Okay, this will actually be very, very beneficial, because every time you open a report in Smarten, there is a whole process that happens before rendering the data onto your report. So it checks for your roles, it checks for your user level permissions, it checks for your data access permissions, it checks for everything combined together, your filters applied, your everything that this particular user who has requested to open this report, that whole processing cycle takes a bit of your processing time. And so the rendering of the report obviously will be uh, starting after that process is finished. Okay, so skipping that will allow you to render this report very, very fast. Okay, because it will skip that whole process. But obviously, because this will skip the whole process, anybody, especially the administrator who is allowing that to happen, has to be very sure of which report to be configured this way. Especially for the anonymous public access report, you can skip this point.
Also certain reports like newsletters or maybe which is
Yes,
useful to everyone.
yes. Okay. There is a new feature, which is an interesting feature, especially for the people who are working on predictive analytics. We have a need for sampling the data, and after sampling the data, sorry, there was no need, the way for us to, save that sample. So if I sample my data here in Dataset, it will just sample it out for me in the preview. Here in the result set, I can see that sample. But for me to be able to actually use that sample for my data modeling was not possible straight away from this side. So now what we can do is, now we have a new option that after specifying which sort of sampling I want to apply, whether it's simple random sampling or stratified sampling, or top a few records or bottom few records, or whatever type of sampling you select, now you can simply go and say that create a new data set for the sample record. So basically, by split, what I mean is it will create a new data set for you. This data set will remain intact with the data that it has, and a new data set with this particular name, whatever you configure over here, will be generated for you with the sample records. As I said, this is especially useful in case of data modeling, wherein we want to work with a sample set of records for our predictions and data understanding. And okay, and last but not the least, in case of predictive analytics, especially in case of classification, we have a new feature option for us to allow oversampling or undersampling. Okay.
Yes, so that is specifically for the classification predictive use case which we have. So in classification, just to manage your data, I mean, first you can select your data set. There are some simple filters like how do you want to handle outliers and missing values, and all those filters you can take care of. You can select classification. Now, under this, it will help you balance the data. So by any chance, if your data is having more of the I mean, more of the majority classes or less of the minority classes, then there are chances that your predictive use case may give you a biased result, right? So we have given an option for data balancing. So here you can see there is apply data balance. So let's say if you have a sample data set of customer churn, just to take an example of customer churn, wherein the number of customers, those who have churned, is very, very less, right? So in that case, it will not give correct result. So in this case, we can balance the data. So here what it will do is, from the minority classes, in my example, let's say customer churn status yes is very low, then in that case it will do oversampling. It will create more samples of yes. And how it will do, so you can choose any of the options from this drop down. Like either you can choose random oversampling or synthetic minority oversampling technique. So that will increase the values of yes in your data set. Same way, like if you have more of the majority classes, then you can also delete certain of the majority classes to balance your data. And there is a drop down option available of random undersampling. So these are like, you here you don't have to do any coding programming to delete certain samples or maybe to create more samples of that. Simple data balancing can be done through these drop down steps which we have given under the predictive classification use case. So this can come very, very handy to all the business users or maybe data scientists who are using this particular module to create a predictive use case for classification. Yes, so I think Ritu, this was the last point.
Yeah. Yes,
Right.
Arbuda. Apart from that, there is no, I mean, these we are covering the major changes. Apart from that, we have shared the release notes, which contains all the enhancements to the existing features. There are a lot more enhancements to the existing features covered in the 5.3 release. Yeah, so that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So, I mean, we have sent emails of release notes and version 5.3, what all it covers to all the users. And in case if you have any questions or queries, you can write to us. You can write to me or Ritu for any questions or queries. You can also, like for sentiment analysis and the native mobile application, you can visit our website. We have a dedicated webinar videos for the same. So you can check those webinar videos there, how to configure the mobile app and sentiment analysis. Also, we have a dedicated webinar video available. So yes, I mean, we are done with the overall presentation today. We are here to take the questions. So attendees, you will have a Q&A section in the Zoom panel, in the below Zoom panel. You can use that Q&A section to ask any questions you may have. We have done a video recording of this webinar. So post this, you will receive an email with the video recording in 1 or 2 days. So in case if you want to share it with your colleagues or someone who has missed this webinar, you can also do that. I'm inviting all the attendees to ask any questions you may have to the new related to the new version or any other questions you may have for Smarten. All right, so I have some questions here. Recording, you will get it in email. So you will get the recording on the registered email which you have used for this webinar.
Okay. As for global variable functionality to be used with API, so our team is already working on it. It will be available in the next patch, I mean, next 2 or 3 weeks at the max.
Okay, so we have one question from Shastri ji, and he's asking what is the difference between Power BI and Smarten? Sir, Smarten is a business intelligence as well as augmented analytics platform. So in Smarten, in the base platform itself, we are offering the augmented analytics capabilities like self-serve data preparation, like assisted predictive modeling. We are also offering clickless analytics. We are also offering sentiment analysis, anomaly alerts. So all those augmented analytics capabilities which usually are part of the premium version of any other BI, not only Power BI but any other BI, all those capabilities are in the base platform of Smarten. Apart from that, we do not bind customer to a particular cloud or particular deployment option. So let's say if you select Power BI, you will have to share your data on the Power BI Azure which they are providing. However, Smarten, you can host it on premise, you can host it on any private clouds. Apart from that, you also get OS independence. So let's say if you, instead of Windows, if you want to select Linux or anything like that, you can do it. So whatever, the traditional and modern BI components I'm talking about, all of these are available in the base model of Smarten. So you don't have to go for, let's say, there is nothing like a premium version or the base version. All the modern and traditional BI components are part of one platform itself. I'll share a comparison document between Power BI and Smarten, Shastri. I'll share it on email, sir. One more question. Option to partition data in a data set or BI object. Kiran has this question.
So
Ritu.
we are partitioning data in the data set itself. So basically we are partitioning the data of the file which we are storing in the backend, the Parquet file that we are storing in the backend. We are partitioning the data in that file itself, the data set repository source that we are creating.
Yeah. Through.
So yeah, Kiran, indirectly it is partitioning both data set, and then
Yeah.
from the data set you can derive the BI object. So that's how it works.
Yeah. Dhruv, we have shared the release notes to our existing customers, but I'll also share it with you. You can have a look at it. Um, okay, we have a question from Rishabh ji. Can we use data values in dashboard filters?
I actually I'm not I do not understand the question. So we can use any sort of values in dashboard filters, whether it may be integer or I mean whatever data type it is. As far as you have a column, you can apply a filter on top of that.
Yeah, so you can put any dimensions to your filter within the dashboard and filter the values for that dimension on dashboards.
Yeah.
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 So question from Dhruv, what are the benefits of SmartenInsight? Dhruv, SmartenInsight is assisted predictive modeling. So basically any business user, someone who is from a non-data science background, with the help of SmartenInsight, they will be able to create, share and use predictive use cases without writing any statistical algorithm. So in this, a system has the capability of automatically identifying the target, the predictors which will which will affect the target. It also gives you a small report which will help you understand that up to what extent the predictors are affecting your target. It gives you interpretation of your predictive use case in simple English language. You can also apply and see it. So let's say if you have someone from the marketing team or someone from the finance team who know their data very, very well, but they don't have the knowledge of statistical software like R or Python, then they can use Smarten. They can upload their data. They can prepare their data with Smarten self-serve data preparation without writing any ETL scripts or SQL queries. And they can also do predictive use case without writing any statistical algorithm. So basically that SmartenInsight is assisted predictive modeling for the business users, or what Gartner calls them as citizen data scientists. So people from non-data science background. Yeah, so we have a question. Is this upgrade of current Smarten version will be chargeable? Sir, if you are under AMC, you will get the upgrade as a part of AMC. Okay, one more question from Kiran. Partition data splits on cache from base data, or while fetching data from backend, does it fetches the data based on partition columns?
Yes, Kiran, that's where the parallelism point came into picture. So in case we have defined partition and there is a direct to direct connection with the partition in the database as well, then we can run parallel threads for processing the data, fetching and storing the data as well. I
Okay.
hope that answers your question.
Uh,
So
uh,
bioparallelism can be achieved.
Yes, so one more question from Shastri ji. Sir, major customers of Smarten are, we have a lot of customers like Religare Stockbroking. We have IDBI Federal Insurance as one of our customers. Symphony Coolers is our customers. We have Jai Chemicals from the pharma and chemicals. I mean, they are our customers. I'll share a customer list with you. There are a lot of customers from different industries, and they're using Smarten for the dashboarding and enterprise reporting capabilities. Dhruv, no, you don't have to take separate license for SmartenInsight. As I said, that all the modules, what you see, like data preparation or the SmartenInsight or the clickless analytics, or even if you see the assisted predictive modeling, which is SmartenInsight, all these are part of the base Smarten platform, and there is no separate license for it. So you will get, administrator will have rights to all these modules. And in case if you want to give additional rights to the power users for predictive, I mean, SmartenInsight, etc., you can give with an additional charge. But I mean, administrator will have rights to all the modules which we have in Smarten. So in base model, you will have SmartenInsight as well. Any other questions? Shastriji, you have, I mean, Smarten is open. I mean, you can deploy it wherever you want. So you can, if you want, you can deploy it on premise. If you want, you can also deploy it on cloud. It's up to you. Thank you, Dhruv. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So a video recording of this, you will get it in 1 or 2 days on the registered email address which you have used for this webinar. And you will also, to all the new users, I mean, those who are not our customers attending this webinar, they will also get the release notes. I'll share the release notes with you. And for any other questions or queries, you can write an email to us. You can also visit our website for other webinars, www.smarten.com. And as I said, we have also launched a free citizen data scientist course on smarten.com. So I would request all the attendees to avail the benefits of it. All right. So I think we are done with most of the questions. Ritu, we can just wrap up. Ritu and Sahil.
Sure,
Yeah.
Arpita. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, attendees, thank you so much for attending this webinar and making this highly interactive. It was very, very nice talking to you and demonstrating version 5.3 to you. We look forward taking this ahead, and yeah, so similarly, I would request all of you to keep participating in our webinars the way you do. Thank you all.